Welcome back to the Owl Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Carpenter. Today, we're joined by two members of our Theta-Omega Chapter at Middle Tennessee, Jake Vogel and Connor Allen, to discuss their recruitment efforts over the past year. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Pretty all right.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Glad to have you on the podcast today. I've got a couple questions for you all, so we'll just go ahead and jump right in. My first question. So first off, congratulations. Y'all finished up another semester of recruiting. Walk our listeners through how your spring recruitment semester finished up.
I think we actually did pretty well. I believe, from everything I've heard, that we broke the record of the most spring pledges that Sigma Pi Theta Omega has ever had, our chapter here at MTSU. We started we did two recruitment classes this past spring. One at the beginning of the spring and one at the, very end of March, maybe the first week of April. And got about 3 more guys in that. So in total, I believe we had 12 guys sign, and we walked away with, I believe, 8 who are going to who have been initiated or will be initiated at the end of the summer.
Very nice. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. It's pretty awesome. We're excited to see our chapter grow.
Well, congratulations to you guys on that. That is fantastic. Moving on to my second question. In the fall, you also took multiple classes in one semester. How did the chapter accomplish this?
So after our really big fall class, we were happy with where we were at, me and Connor, recruitment-wise, but we still wanted more. So we started looking at the bylaws about how our pledgeship for Sigma Pi nationally has to be a maximum or a minimum of 6 weeks, or that's just how long they can do it. Doesn't mean you can go 8 weeks. It means it has to be 6 weeks, but you can go less than 6 weeks as long as you cover everything with their modules, the tightrope, the plaid modules. So we kind of got in our heads, well, could we do a second pledge class within these last 6 weeks? 2 weeks for recruiting and 4 weeks for their education. I was a member at the time also, so me and Connor kind of just worked together on a whole plan, and we planned out the next month. We planned out 2 weeks of recruitment, new rush events, stuff we hadn't done before. We talked about how much more we're going to have to be on campus since, there's no one's really expecting a second pledge class. Luckily for us, it worked. We ended up getting more guys and just growing our chapter, and it was a great experience.
Just going off what Jake said, thankfully, I don't know about any other campus, but MTSU is also Recruit 365, which means just any time of year you can get a guy. We are also, what helped with doing this is that we knew we had interest. There were a bunch of guys who'd been coming out to any events that we were having, whether it just be watching football or something. Guys who just hang out. We were just like, well, why don't you just go ahead and join, We as well, another thing that Jake said, guys usually will use the spring to experiment with rush events. The great thing about doing the second class is that you can just use that, so you're not messing around or going to drop the ball with one of your biggest times of year to recruit, if that makes sense. And in the second pledge class, it really helps us get new ideas, that sort of thing. It also helps your newest members get a feel for recruitment so they know what to expect when it's time to recruit in the first weeks of spring or the first weeks of fall.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you all the opportunity to really experiment and see when is the best time to pick up some new members. Likewise, if you have some stragglers from a previous recruitment period, you can potentially pick them up. That's awesome. Moving on to my third question. What key aspects of your recruitment efforts do you think aided in your success?
Well, I think one of the key aspects that me and Connor did was we made a solid plan about probably 2 months from when fall was going to start. Me and him were working together at the time with an alumni at a plant farm. So we basically had 8 hours every day where we could just talk and figure out what our plan was. That was a big help, and we were both on the same page most of the time, and we came to conclusions about what would really get us big and what would get our name out there. Another thing was we had the chapter behind us. We were about 22 men, and when it's that small of a chapter, you don't have to worry about people, telling you, oh, well, I gotta go do this. I can't come to the recruitment event. I gotta go do this, or coming up with excuses because you know everyone pretty personally, and you can kind of call them out on they're lying or not and be like, no, I need you here, man. And another thing we did was after every recruitment event, me and Connor would just send texts like after action reports. We'd be like, hey, this is what worked last night. Here's some things that we saw that people were doing. Like, you guys need to get off your phones, go talk to people, don't be sitting down, go talk to people, stuff like that. And just one of the things I did too was we were a chapter, didn't have a house, wasn't the biggest, so I kind of told every pledge that I met or every P&M that I met um, about joining a fraternity. It's about the brotherhood. It's not about what they have. It's about who you like the most. So I would always tell them, even if you're going to have a house or a cabin somewhere this chapter has, if you don't enjoy your brotherhood, you're not going to like that house. You're not going to like this cabin. You're not going to like these things that these guys have that they flash around. So I think that really spoke to a lot of the guys we got in that fall class, and it worked well.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's going off the first part of what Jake was saying about having a plan. I mean, we were lucky the fact that we were working together and just be able to go through everything. I mean, we didn't leave a single stone unturned, I felt like. Uh, of course, once you get into recruitment, that's certain questions arise. We were very prepared, I feel like. Um, and then another thing that also helped out, because we were dwindling on numbers real quick. I know at one point it seemed like we weren't even going to have a chapter if things kept going the way they were going. Uh, we were doing recruitment workshops as well. Uh, I'd always heard about bigger chapters across the country, whether it's Sigma Pi or not. They all get together before recruitment starts and walk through everything, how to talk to guys, what to expect, that sort of thing. And I just remember we made a PowerPoint. We sat everyone down a couple days before school started, and I just made everyone look around and be like, as you can see, we're not, we look like we're dying right now. We need to pick things up. The large part that helped us this fall, I think, was out of necessity, but that didn't hurt us by any means. That makes sense. It wasn't like we were, because everyone came together, wanted to recruit, we were able to get a ton of guys and decide who we were able to bid and who we didn't want to. It wasn't like we just got we just grabbed and blanket bidded. We didn't do anything like that. I think a big aspect is just trying to find the leaders in your chapter and then being the ones who really take on recruitment. You see that. I think a big issue is if he doesn't have a voice or anything like that in the chapter, he's not going to get his guys to recruit. Recruitment is, for a lot of guys, probably some of the most uncomfortable things they have to do being in this fraternity. Because you're just meeting new guys and you're not knowing what to expect and you don't know what to talk about half the time. So you really got to have someone there to push you to do it.
One thing both of you mentioned was dwindling membership size. I heard the number 22. That's where you all started fall of 2021 at, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where are you at now? How many members do we have in Theta Omega?
We're at 49.
So you all effectively doubled the chapter in less than a year just by doing these multiple recruitment classes a semester.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It worked really well.
It sounds like it. That's fantastic, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that kind of segues into my next question. What types of events did you all host to get these new members out?
To go off of that, What I've been changing is I don't think it's necessarily even about the event. I think it's about giving the chapter a voice. So we, Jake and I really took this idea of the recruitment committee to a full head of steam. So grab some of the best guys we can think of, threw them in a group chat, and we just started spitballing rush events pretty much. I mean, most of it was coming from Jake and I feel like, but an idea here or there doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't hurt. And then we take a list of that. And we try to think. We look at the amount of weeks there are in our rush. So it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks. So we have a lot of leeway to work with, a lot of time, I should say. And we'd get it the right number, like say 5 to 7 events, and we'd send it's like 14 events in the group chats that we have, and make all the guys vote on them to see what events guys would actually show up to. I think that's what helped absolute helped tremendously. Because I remember my last few years of recruitment, it was like guys wouldn't show up because they didn't like the idea of the event. So now we're letting the chapter have a big voice in it.
We always start off our rush with just a classic. It's called Meet the Brothers. I'm sure a lot of chapters do it. We love doing it. It's really just, I mean, it's like just a convention for us to all get together as a chapter and all the P&Ms to show up. And, there's not really anything going on. Maybe we'll have a game on in the background, or people will be playing Xbox or listening to music. And we just talk to guys. We get to know them on a personal level. And then after they've gotten to meet us, we kind of move up from there to more events where there's stuff going on, because you know the guy now. You can start doing stuff with them, and you don't have to worry about them, kind of being afraid of, oh, I don't know them, I don't want to go jump into this. One of my favorite events we've done it in the past 2 semesters now, is poker and pork, or poker and pizza, whichever way you want to do it. We get all of our brothers to bring over poker chips, and we just set up a bunch of tables, and we have multiple games of Texas Hold'em on. We've got a brother running blackjack, all that. There's no money involved because you can't do that to P&Ms, but it's still fun, and you get just a bunch of pork or like barbecue, or you can go get pizzas from Costco, which is what we did once, and everyone eats, everyone plays. And when you're playing cards, you get to know someone pretty well, and it's always a good time. We like to do bonfires and stuff like that. It's a good time. Maybe in the spring, don't do it. It's a little cold. Everyone might try to leave you, but in the fall, if it's a nice temperature out that night, it's great to do. Um, we also do a lot of stuff revolved around food and sporting events, like NFL. If there's going to be a big NFL game on one day, try to set it during then, because a lot of the P&Ms are these new freshmen or just moving into dorms and stuff like that. They don't have anywhere to go watch the game, or they don't want to go eat at the dining hall by themselves. So you're like, hey, free food, come watch the game with the guys, come get to know us, and it really gets people out. Another thing is, just because you have all these recruitment events, it doesn't mean that's all you can do. You also got to go take these guys out to lunch. You got to be texting them 24/7. You got to remember all of their names if you're the recruitment head. I mean, there's guys we didn't even bid, and I can remember their name right now, and I'm sure Connor can too. It's all about finding a sweet spot. It's an event guys want to come out to, and it's not too expensive for the chapter, and it's an event that people like P&Ms can make it to easily.
And it sounds like you all put a lot of thought into this as you were planning these events for your recruitment periods. And it sounds like you all saw a lot of success with that as well. I have one final question for you. What advice do you have for other chapters who may be struggling with their recruitment?
Uh, go into it with a plan for sure. I know there could be a kid listening right now, or he's not like a big plan guy. Coming from me, I usually never have one, but it's definitely helped out a lot. I've broken my recruitment into multiple phases over the last year. Like, first and foremost, coming up with the events. Second, making a solid flyer. Don't make anything that just looks. If you can't take pride in it, don't release it. Um, I'm no graphic design guy. It's taken me a while to even get decent at it. But if you can't, if you're gonna look back at, like, think about how uh, guys will see this thing, and if it looks like trash, they're gonna think y'all are trashy. I mean, we get a numbers list from IFC, the text, and I always break it up individually for each guy in the chapter to text, about 7 numbers. And then fourth, get some recruitment workshops going. And that's like usually my recruitment plans. Just set all that kind of thing up. And you can break it down any way you want. Just make sure you have different phases so you don't get overwhelmed. So like have first phase, second phase, third phase. Uh, this is something that I think going forward from being that sophomore who went into, or freshman who took over right after initiation, you definitely need an older guy doing it. At least someone who's been in the chapter for 2 recruitment cycles, just so they can see what to do, what to think. I think just experience is key. I'm not saying just completely leave that one bright-eyed freshman out of the whole recruitment mix. I mean, let them help, show them the ropes, but you need to start getting some older guys in there. And it's not to say like you could have a star out of nowhere, but more than likely or not, he's just not. It's gonna be very underwhelming. Uh, just because you know people doesn't mean you know how to recruit people. Uh, Reach out to other chapters. They never really. That's what I was always trying to do. Is always trying to reach out to other Sigma Pod chapters, see what they do, see that kind of thing. And a lot of times, I understand that guys may not respond, but it is better to reach out than not. If you ever if any guy who's listening right now ever needs any tips, I mean, if you go to MTSU Sigma Pi and DM us, would be more than happy. And they'll give you my number or Jake's number, and we definitely send you some information. Uh, Start keeping track of what you do throughout your recruitment cycle. Since I'm gonna be graduating soon, I've been thinking about it. I've been doing this for about 3 years now. Uh, I've been trying to write down every single thing that I do, even the most uh, smallest thing, just in case, like, details are everything. Uh, you read something one way, another guy will read it a different way. So be very details oriented with this. But I'm trying to make a little booklet that I can just give to the next guy after and just say, hey, hit me up for questions. Or this should cover a lot of things. But that's another thing, too. If you're that recruitment chair right now, you need to be there for the guy coming after you. You gotta help them out. Uh, there's Don't be that guy who's just bragging about being the greatest recruiter ever, and then not uh, never reaching back out to the guy. Help them out. If, if he succeeds, we all succeed.
My best advice is play to your chapter's strengths. I think me and Connor, we know our chapter pretty well. We know all the guys in it, what they're like, what our chapter is like, just the culture of the chapter. We wouldn't make our rush everyone seem like, hey, everyone dress this way, everyone act this way. We said, no, you got to act, a certain way because there's bylaws and there's stuff. You can't be doing this here. You can't be saying that there. But play to your chapter strengths. Be like, if our chapter's big on sports, start doing sporting stuff. And you'll get guys who like that type of stuff to join your chapter, and they'll just fit right in. Another thing to recommend is read the bylaws of your school. We used to think that if someone accepted a bid, then dropped, you couldn't bid them for a year. You can just bid them again right out the gate. They can join you right out the gate. That's how we got a few of the guys. So make sure you look into those bylaws. You can get some guys off of that, even if it doesn't come to anything. It's still good to know those. And like Connor was saying, a solid plan. I would really recommend the after action reports. Just, if you're head recruitment or you're just on the recruitment committee and you're seeing stuff that is working or stuff that isn't working that you think needs to be changed, let the chapter know. Don't just sit there silently and not say anything, because you're not going to change, and it's not going to get better if you don't.
Yeah, you just gotta be honest with yourselves. You're going off playing with your chapter strengths. I mean, if you can set up guys who are like-minded into groups, and bring them around. And then once you're meeting a P&M and your conversation's going dry, toss him to that guy. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can do things. I mean, and it's not like with this plan you're going to get every single guy you can, but at least you have a better, your likelihood of getting someone who you're compete with another chapter for is much higher. Another thing, advice, don't just sit there and act like you can't do something because, oh, I don't have a house, I don't have this, I don't have that. I'll be honest, I mean, I've fallen into it before. I've seen guys fall into it before. But then again, we got, I think, what was it, Jake? The third highest or third largest recruitment class um, last fall, and like I think the second highest this spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we have we really didn't have much going our way except just brotherhood outright, and we're keeping up with all the dudes who had a lot of land, a lot of property. Uh, uh, it's kind of like the phrase, "Money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure makes it easy." I mean, a house doesn't buy you pledges, you know. Um, it might make it easier, but you still got to put down some groundwork for it.
Guys, that was all very helpful, very insightful, and I know that a lot of our members are going to hear this and definitely take that into their fall recruitment here in a couple of months. I appreciate you all hopping on the podcast today and sharing this information with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. It was pretty awesome. I hope that anything we said could help someone out.
Thanks a lot, Drew.
Absolutely. Thank you all. But that will wrap up today's discussion. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of the Owl Talk podcast. And thank you, Jake and Connor, for giving us some recruitment insight. For everyone listening, make sure to hit subscribe and please leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. And as always, I believe.